Hello everyone and welcome to the Rift. Today we have a lot to talk about. There were a bunch of pictures of new cards revealed from a news conference Friday morning. And might I just say, these cards look fantastic. We've got a lot to talk about, so let's just jump right into it. But first, if you're enjoying this content, make sure that you like the video. And if you're feeling spicy, make sure that you smash that subscribe button just as hard as you'd smash your favorite League of Legends character. So, there's quite a lot to talk about here with all of these new card reveals that we've seen here. First, I'll be starting with Volibear. Right off the bat, this is a knock out of the park. This card looks incredible. They did an excellent job with this guy. He looks imposing, he looks menacing, he looks big, powerful. I like the background they picked. It looks very runic, which kind of fits him. The red-orange looks really good. It looks the same as the Fury and Might combo he has on his text border, which looks nice. Overall, this card just looks great. There's not really anything to talk about other than it looks really good. We have gotten confirmation from translations of the text that all these cards are mechanically identical to the cards we already had, so there's not going to be any balance changes or any balance discussion in this video. It's mostly just going to be focusing on how the cards look, because while I do think mostly these cards look incredible, there are some things I would like to see tweaked differently. There are some overall aesthetic decisions that I'm not quite on board with. They're a bit confusing to me, and we'll touch on those later. But as far as the legends go, I think there's pretty much nothing I change about them except one thing, which I change about every card, which I'll touch on in a bit. Alright, let's talk about this Jinx next. And I think this, more than any card, really illustrates how the overall aesthetics of the game as a whole are going to look. This card is a rarity. You can tell by the little purple diamond at the bottom in the middle of the card. Rares appear 2 times in each pack in this game. You get 2 rares or better per pack with a bunch of commons and uncommons. We've got pictures of commons and uncommons as well, so I'll talk about those too when we get there. We also have epics as well, and I'll talk about those, of course. I think those look excellent, but we'll get to those in a bit. Let's talk about the rare design right now. Overall, obviously, it looks a lot better than it used to. The old white bordered card on the right is what we saw previously, and obviously the new one's on the left. Just to clarify, I really like the black border and the gold inlaid layout that's surrounding everything. I think those look excellent. I don't really have any criticism of those. What I do have criticism on, at least what's jumping out to me immediately when I see these cards, is that sometimes there is white text and white numbers on a black background, and other times there are black numbers or black text on a white background, and I just wish they would pick one of the two and stick with it. I think, as you can see on this Jinx, it looks a bit jarring having the white 4 on black and then a black 3 on white, and then it goes back to having a white power cost and white text on black backgrounds. I really don't know why, for the energy specifically here, they chose to invert their scheme. It doesn't really fit, and it sort of just looks off. Also, the white text with black background looks fine here, but it could run into some issues with very bright pictures or white characters and colors. The text might sort of blend into the background art a bit if they aren't too careful and they print like very bright white vibrant artworks on cards in the future. They could run into some trouble there. I don't think it'll be that big of a deal because there is this semi-translucent black background behind the text here, so I don't expect that to be a problem on these cards. I do really like how the card is structured and laid out. I think that looks really good. I like that they've included some flavor text on the card in its text box and not just rules. I think that adds to the overall aesthetic and feel and immersion of the game quite a bit, which is really good to see. I like how they've chosen to lay out all the rule text boxes and where they've chosen to put those. I think that looks pretty intuitive and pretty nice. Having the Jinx name with the card's sub-name under it is a bit of a weird decision, in my opinion at least. There's a lot of real estate on that red text bar there that could have been used better, I suppose. It just kind of looks like they've crammed all of the text into the left of that red bar and then the rest of it's empty, which is a little weird. They could have just done like Jinx hyphen type of Jinx instead of the Jinx name being above the type of Jinx. It just looks a little smushed and like they could have utilized the real estate a bit better. I don't think it'll be a problem on cards with short names like this, but with longer names, if they have to shrink the text even more, it could look kind of small, and you really don't want the card's name looking small next to all the other text. The name should be the first thing that really pops out and catches your eye when you're scanning over a card. So they could run into issues with that in the future. I don't personally think they will. I think the way they've chosen to do it is fine. It's just a minor nitpick. I just see all of this empty space that could be utilized and intuitively think that something could have been done a little bit better here. Talking a bit more positively, I really like how the artwork spills over the border of the card. I think that's an incredible touch that really adds to this card. I also really like the overall vibrancy and colors of this card. They look very good, especially next to the card on the right. The one on the right looks a little bit washed out in terms of color. The one on the left just pops out towards me so much better. It's really good. It looks like the overall print quality of even this sample card here is pretty nice. The colors are excellent. The card looks overall high quality. We obviously can't tell anything about like thickness or cardstock quality here, but I have high hopes with how this card looks. Overall, yeah, just way better than the old design. Here's Jinx's Rocket. We've already seen this card before, so I won't talk about it that much. Overall, I think this card's really nice. You can just see it more vibrantly colored than the card that's older. Overall, really no complaints about this card. I think it just looks outstanding overall. All right, let's talk about the epics now. We have Misfortune and Seal here. They're really blurry and it's hard to tell any details, but I'll do my best to talk about things here. I think the text not having any background could potentially lead to some visibility issues in the future. Like I said before, if they choose to print artworks on cards that are very vibrant and like bright white, maybe for like Kale or Galio in the future, they could run into some issues with actually reading the text. White on white without any border or drop shadow behind the text is gonna look really bad, and it's gonna be even worse to try and read it. So I'm interested to see how they're gonna fix that. These cards are samples. They say sample right on them, so they may not be the finalized design, and I'm honestly hoping they're not, because I really think these cards need drop shadows behind them. At least the full art cards with no borders and no backdrop behind the text could really use some drop shadowing. I think they look so much better when you do that, and it's just a lot easier to read things too. Other than that, yeah, I don't really have any complaints. We've seen an epic card before with Dead Bloom Predator, and these basically look the exact same, so there's not really much else to talk about here. I think out of all the cards we've seen, the epics definitely look the best and the most finalized. In my opinion, I just think they need that drop shadow and they'll be perfect. That's really the only criticism I have on them. Talking about a few more individual cards, it looks like we've got the big 12 drop Fully Bear as well as Catalyst. It seems like in the top right on Catalyst, there's the same symbol that's on Rocket, which could just mean like spell of some kind, which would be kind of interesting. A visual symbol indicator to differentiate it from units and other cards would be pretty helpful and pretty nice. Again, I really don't like the indecisiveness of sometimes having black text and numbers on white backgrounds and sometimes having white text and numbers on black or no backgrounds. I really just think they should pick one and stick to it on everything. Personally, I prefer white text and white numbers on no background, or that semi-translucent translucent black background they had before. I think that looks a lot better than the white. I don't know, the color scheme they've chosen here with this card, like the orange and white and just how things are laid out, it kind of resembles a Lorcana card, which isn't really a bad thing. I think the cards look okay. I just wish they'd pick one aesthetic and stick to it, so everything looks uniform and looks like it's coming from the same game. I just think the commons and uncommons look a little too aesthetically different from the epics. That could be an intentional design choice to really distinguish the two and make epics look even more interesting and, well, epic, but I'd really like them to stick with a cohesive visual style, especially with the energy cost. I really just don't like the black number on white background for the energy cost. The white on black or white on nothing just looks so much better in my opinion. That's really the only complaint I have. I think the card otherwise looks fine. I'm glad they're putting flavor text on uncommons and commons as well. I think that adds just a little bit extra to the cards, makes them look a little bit better. We can see Purple Jinx here as well, which looks a little bit off to me. It looks a little bit too yellow. At least the gold outlining border looks a bit yellow in my opinion. This could be something different like the Arcane promo, or maybe an alternate art, which is why it looks so different. If that's the case, then I'm really not too sure about this design decision to make things look so yellow. I really like the color of gold that they had before. I think that looked really good. I don't know why they're changing it here. It might just be a printing error, of course, and I hope it is. I don't know though, it just looks weird to me. It looks off. Something else interesting that we've gotten to see are some deck box redesigns, which is pretty cool. They feature the new art of the legends. This could be confirmation that they're giving these out at more events or re-releasing them, which is cool. I'd really like to see that. It's most likely the case though that these are just like beta test cards. Like what we've seen, they all have sample written on them on the artwork, so that's probably what these are. Still cool to see they updated the artwork though. We've gotten to see what looks to be an official playmat here, which looks really nice. The artwork on this looks stellar, and I really like that they've included the zones, but they're not so overpowering to the artwork. They're just kind of subtly there, so you can still clearly see all of the artwork, but they're also functional reminders for gameplay as well. I think that's really nice touch. There's pretty much nothing I'd change about this. I think this is just another home run. This here looks to be a demo table. Here we can see the playmat a little more clearly. One nitpick I guess I do have with this is there's a lot of unused space over on the left and on the right. I think they should have just expanded out the play zones and filled the space of the playmat. Again, this may not be a final production model. It might just be another beta test or sample, but even if this is the final product, I don't think it's that bad. Again, just fill the space, guys, come on. On this, we can see the runes in a battlefield, which look really nice. I really like how they've done the runes with this sort of silver outline. I think they look really good. We'll probably have some sort of full art fancy runes, either in this set or in future sets or promotional stuff. So I'm definitely looking forward to that. But as far as basic runes go, I think these look really good. We can see a few other cards like Vi and some other commons and uncommons like Chompers, which again seem to have the exact same kind of layouts as we've talked about before, and color scheming as well. Again, I really think they should just stick with white text on black or no backgrounds, but that's just me. Talking about the battlefield, I think this looks pretty good. I like that it has text facing both directions towards both players, so you don't have to turn the card to read it. I think that's a nice touch. I think the battlefields, from at least looking at this, look fine. They look pretty good. I think this is a good example of where black text on a white background is fine to have, because battlefields are very different game pieces and very different kinds of cards than all of the cards that are going to be going into your main deck. It's fine if they look quite a bit different than the other cards. I just wish all of the main deck cards were a bit more homogenized in terms of text, color, and backgrounding. Looking at Seal in a bit more detail, it looks like it has a diamond shape outlining its energy cost to differentiate it from units and spells that have a circular outline, which is fine. I think that's a cool touch. Gear probably should have some kind of visual distinction between other cards that makes you able to tell that at a glance it's a gear card. So in this case, I'm not too bothered about them changing up the design of the card layout a bit. I think it's just enough to give it a distinction that it's a different card type, but not too much that it looks like it's from a different game or is a different type of card entirely, like something that would be outside of the main deck. So I think this looks fine. And as far as seals being printed at Epic already goes, I'm not going to talk about that in this video. I'll be making a whole other video talking about products and ratios and card distribution in general, where I talk about speculation on the overall price of the game, considering things like seals being printed as epics, but that's a whole other discussion for a whole other video. We've got the Victor display set up here with the new tokens and another playmat. I don't know who this character is, but he does look cool, and I think the mat again looks really good. I just wish they'd fill the space a bit more. Yep, the runes look good, Victor looks good, the champion and the legend. The tokens are a lot different from what we had right now, but these look fine. They look more machine-like than the one we had before, which is fine. There's not really much to say about that. Again, another example of where black text on a white background works, because these are tokens. They're outside of your main deck. They're a completely different type of card, not related to main deck units or main deck cards of any kind. So that difference doesn't really matter on these cards as much as it does on the main deck units. So I think everything they've chosen to do with this card and its layout is fine. Talking about Volibear's mat and layout as well. The playmat, I think that's Ari, or at least an alternate art version of her. This mat looks pretty good too, and we can see the 10-drop red Volibear in the middle. There's kind of a glare on him, so he's not that clear to see, but I think overall from what I can see, he looks pretty good. Again, runes look good, everything looks good. I like the Voli legend, he looks good. Talking about Yasuo's setup, now that I'm seeing more of it, I think this yellowing of the golden outline on these cards is probably just a printing error on Misfortune here and Kane and a bit of Yasuo's champion as well. The border does look a bit yellow, especially in comparison to that wielder of water right there. His border honestly looks pretty brown to me, so I'm guessing these are all just errors and won't be how the finalized cards look. At least I hope they aren't. Some of these look way too yellow and some look way too brown, but the other close-up cards that we've seen before, like Red Jinx, look really good. So I'm hoping that's what the cards all look like and that these are just errors with printing. Again, the runes look good, spell looks good. It looks like the top right is a bit orange on meditation, but again, that's probably just a printing error because it looks similar on Wield of Water as well. I don't know, maybe it's just the lighting, maybe it's just glare or whatever. It could be, who knows, until we really get more high quality pictures of the cards. Alright, I think my overall thoughts are very positive. I really like how all of these cards look, except for the minor nitpicks that I've said before. Overall, really positive. These look great. And now I'm even more excited for the game's release. So I think this game has a bright future ahead of it. Alright, I think that's enough rambling for today. A shorter video than the last tier list one, but that's to be expected. There's not as much to talk about. Thank you guys for watching and sticking with my content. And yeah, that's all I gotta say. Take care.